It's a gargantuan 7-storied structure with no apparent rhyme or reason. Each maze of halls more confusing than the next. It's under never-ending construction. It was built on the orders of a grieving widow. Sarah Winchester is the majority shareholder of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company.
You want to take it away from her?
We're worried about her sanity, Dr. Price.
Do you believe in ghosts, Doctor?
I do not believe in anything I cannot see or study.
And we are live. Wow, that was really, really creepy, was it not? Oh, that was creepy. So this is the Winchester, and we're all here today to talk about this new movie that came out. It was just released just a couple weeks ago, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, and so I'm here with the lovely Miss Dawn Worthey.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. And, of course, Brian Daffern. He is on my team, Ghosts of Georgia, Paranormal
Yes, we're
Investigations.
honored to have such an esteemed paranormal investigator with us today.
I know.
Thanks.
And then we have another guest coming in a little bit named Todd Dunn.
we are
So we're
looking
excited to
forward
see
to
him.
that.
He's been on the show before, and he's a paranormal investigator enthusiast.
Yes,
So
he is.
He knows a little bit about the Winchester, too.
Yes, and he's eager to meet you and jump in.
Definitely, definitely. Well, today's show, if you haven't guessed, is about haunted houses, and in particular, it's about the Winchester. And then, you know, we're going to address a little bit about folklore, and are the movies really what the actual haunting is about? Does it follow the history? You know, how much of it is true to the story? How much of it's Hollywood and all that? And we're lucky enough that Brian lived literally 20 minutes from the mansion in California, so he knows a lot about it. He wrote research papers on it, and we'll let him tell more in a little bit. But so this is going to be a super exciting show. So you guys out there, if you have any experiences with haunted houses, especially well-known ones, we're kind of addressing that today. But you're welcome to send us your paranormal questions, anything about your house paranormal. We are on a professional team called Ghosts of Georgia Paranormal Investigation, so we actually do this. Well, I've been doing it for over 10 years. So, and Brian is a little new to the group, but not really. About a year now, or 2 years. Gosh, time flies. I think that happens when you get older. But my name is Beth Peters. If you haven't seen me before, hi. There's several shows on the archive, but I do this business full time. I'm a full-time psychic and medium.
And a good one, I might add.
Aw, thank you. And
she just helped him find his keys, I understand.
I did. And I'll be honest, I'm not usually really good at that. I don't know if I just got lucky or what, but he lost his keys the other day, and I was on the phone with him, and he said, "Where are my keys?" And I said, "Oh, hold on. They're in your jacket pocket." And he goes, "No, they're not. I'm wearing my jacket." No, I'm like, "No, it's another jacket. It's like a green sports jacket with a zipper." And he goes, "Huh?" And he walked in his office, and sure enough, there was his jacket.
Hey, Beth,
and
I just had a concept for a new business idea.
Oh, gosh.
Call in to find missing items.
Yeah. So. I don't know. I might have just gotten lucky. But Tim, he said he's now threatening to call me at 3 a.m. to find his wallet and things like that.
Oh,
so we'll
no.
see. I do help my son-in-law sometimes with that. But for real, I have an office in downtown in Buckhead, and I do readings full time. So if you ever want to book a reading appointment with me, I'm also a public speaker, and I'm doing some public speaking engagements. I've got one coming up March 4th called Tribe and Vibes, and the tickets are still available if anybody wants to come see that. That's going to be a good time. It's just a group of empowering women. They're coming together to network and have a little mixer. And sorry, guys are not invited. It's all women, but you don't have to be in this field to come. Just come as you are. It's just about women supporting each other.
And you got
That's on
something
March
else
4th.
coming up this week with Dr. Karin? Maybe.
Yes, Dr. Karin. I'm going to be on the Dr. Karin show. I forget what the name of it is, but I'll be
the
on
Lighter Side Network.
The Lighter Side Network? Okay, thank you. Thank you. This is why I have a great producer. So I'm on that show on Tuesday, so that's exciting. I'll advertise that as well. That's really exciting. But if you guys want to, reach me to book me for public speaking or for a gallery, I do travel as long as you pay my expenses. And then if you can reach me at 770-712-4010. You can text me. Believe it or not, I do answer. Or call me. If I don't answer right away, just leave me a message, and I do listen to those. I'm an 80s child, so I do listen to much to my children's dismay that say I'm old. I do listen to my messages. And you can also email me, beth@bethpeterspsychicmedium.com. But more important, let's get to this show. First, Wahid, do we have any United Intention news that I don't know about this week? I just got in here this morning. Is there anything going on that you can share with us?
Let me give you the Patreon.
The Patreon. Hold on. So I'm gonna get that for you. Do you want to introduce Brian while we're waiting on that? Okay.
Yes, we are honored to have Brian Daffern with us today. Brian, welcome. And Brian is with the Weather Channel. He is head of global technology. And
great title, by the way.
Yes,
I didn't come up with it.
Impressive title, Brian. We're honored to have you. Also, for this show, paranormal investigator for Ghost of Georgia. And you can locate Ghost of Georgia on Ghost of Georgia. That's ghost with an s.org. So
it's plural,
welcome.
ghosts. Yes, ghostsofgeorgia.org. So, and he's a member of MUFON too, right?
Oh, yes.
A field investigator,
A field investigator for MUFON, which explores unidentified flying objects and...
Among other things,
Among other things, okay.
For sure.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Okay, I just received the note for the news for United Intention. I'm sending you to a website called patreon.com, and it's patreon.com/VIR. That's UI Radio Network. That's what it is, UI Radio Network. That's right. So you guys go to that. Is that our new web station? I think that's our new website, isn't it? The UI Network? Okay. So you guys go to that, and that's where you can also find links to all of our radio shows. Oh, cool. My website's up there. So we'll toggle between my website and the Ghost of Georgia and the Winchester. So this show goes by super fast, so I think we need to address the Winchester more than that. So you guys, if you've seen the movie, send us your comments, send us your questions on Facebook. Wahid over here at the handle is going to be monitoring your questions, and we'll try to get to those as quick as possible. But I'm really excited to see the show, and I have to admit I have not seen it yet.
No, I haven't either, but we've got two people that have.
Yes.
So we're in good hands today.
I guess my first question is it real? Is it a true story? Tell me, Brian.
So the only thing true about it is it's haunted.
Okay.
But it's haunted in a way, but it's more of the truth is more compelling to me than actually
Well, let's talk
the
about
folklore.
the truth.
Yeah.
What is it?
So the folklore is what the movie's based on. But the reality behind it is the short story of the folklore, and then I can tell you the differences, is grieving widow, lost her only child 40 days after birth. She's grieving, goes to a psychic. The psychic tells her,
Wow, here we go.
Oh, no.
You must move to Northern California and build a house to keep the ghosts at bay that are haunting you because they were killed by the Winchester rifle.
Okay, wait, Winchester. So this is the Winchester, the gun company.
The gun company, yes.
Okay, don't mean to be an idiot, but I don't think I realized that. No. So that's the rifle.
Yeah,
That's
and
the
that's
rifle.
part of the whole impetus behind this haunting is the people that have been supposedly died from the Winchester, correct?
Correct. In folklore.
Okay.
So the reality of it is it was a way to keep a super intelligent, powerful woman held down.
Oh.
She was born in New Haven, Connecticut. By 12, she spoke fluently 5 languages. She was a strong mathematician and heralded as a prodigy.
What a curse, I'm telling you.
Okay. So this is kind of like the modern day witch hunt of sort.
Yeah.
Yes. So when her husband died and she inherited all, she received essentially what today would be about $27,000 a day of living expenses.
Dang.
Which is a motive for others to
Well, yes. Now her husband died of TB, so it's kind of, unless she infected him, it's kind of hard for that. But yeah, that's definitely, and she had a controlling interest in this company that was run by, well, middle-aged old white men of the time.
Gotcha.
So this is actually where the story, she never actually went to a psychic. She was raised in a Freemason society, but as a woman, she could not be a Freemason. Except in France. France had a co-Mason organization where a woman could be Freemason.
Oh, my goodness.
She, right after his death, went to France
Okay.
and became a Freemason. She returned to Northern California as a grieving widow, but her two sisters, her brother-in-law, and her family were there. They had gone out in 1849 for the rush, the gold rush. And it was an area that was destitute. She gave to a lot of charity, and I don't know if you know anything about the Freemasons, but the big thing is giving.
Gotcha.
They want to give. So here is a super intelligent woman with lots of money moving into California, and she said, how can I help? Well, she gave to charity, but at that time, charity is not something everyone took up. So she figured out, how could I employ local workers?
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And so she hired the local workers to start building on this house, on this farm that she bought.
Gotcha.
Brian, where is it located in California?
Well, at the time it was called Santa Clara, but it's now
Beautiful.
San Jose. And the house that you see on the picture there, it actually isn't what it originally looked like. So originally it was 7 stories, and at its heyday, 500 plus rooms.
Wow.
Now, as a girl, she always wanted to be an architect, but all of the men told her she couldn't be.
And she's a mathematician, so
Yes.
she certainly could have been.
And the era is mid 1800s, correct?
Well, late 1800s is when she moves
Okay.
there,
Okay, so
right?
it
So
starts,
it's
yeah.
about 79, 80, I believe. So here she is in this town. Now, there's a lot of rumors. So the first one, which I'll dispel, is that she hired all of these workers to build on the house 365 days a year for 24 hours a day for 38 years.
Okay.
Is the folklore.
Folklore.
That's inaccurate. She
Okay.
would send them away at the holidays to be with their families. They would work. The other myth is that she would do seances, that she never actually even touched the occult.
Oh, wow.
And actually at her death, several of the people that worked for her, including her nurse and her niece as well, came forward to share this. But again, the men who ran the company needed to discredit her, for lack of a better phrase.
So I'm a little confused. So the men who ran the Winchester company, the folklore is that they needed to keep her busy and out of the way, right? Basically.
They wanted her out of the way.
Okay. But the actual story is in her intelligence, she was literally just giving people jobs, and it had nothing to do with the men in the company. Is that right?
That's correct. There's
Okay.
actually one piece on that, though, is people of that time felt different towards guns than they do today. She was actually very proud of the Winchester tradition.
Gotcha.
And she actually went and was buying out these other men and taking a larger control of the company.
Oh.
So she was a threat. Many times they tried to get her put away as a crazy person. The challenge that she presented is she was a very private person.
Gotcha.
And she didn't like to go to the parties that all of the other rich people did and throw their money around. She gave it back to the public.
So I read, or I saw on the
What a
trailer.
story.
I know. And I saw on the trailer that there's a ton of like endless staircases and endless curves and places to nowhere. Like it's just almost like a maze. Why did she do that? I mean, that seems crazy.
Well, yes, but it's not as crazy as it sounds.
Okay.
So one of the Freemasons' edicts is continually test yourself, and that is build mazes.
Oh.
And there was different technologies. For example, staircases that started in the center and winded out as you went up.
Okay.
But let's be honest, she is eccentric though.
Okay.
So she had never been professionally trained as an architect. She made mistakes.
Okay.
So she has a staircase going and now there's a roof because afterwards she determined that the structure couldn't handle it.
Oh.
There are times where there is a skylight in a floor. So you can look down into a bedroom.
Yeah.
At the time she put the skylight, she didn't know that she was going to build on top of that. She
I
didn't
got
have a
it.
plan. She kept
Okay.
going.
Gotcha.
And she liked different mathematical spatial anomalies, like a small door into a large room,
Wow.
large door into a small room. But here's the bigger thing that most people forget. If you look at the picture, it's now 4 stories.
Right.
It was originally 7 stories.
Oh.
In 1906, the earthquake hit in San Francisco, destroyed most of San Francisco. It took the top 3 floors off.
Oh. Okay.
She was ahead of her time. She actually had the house built on a floating foundation, meaning it's not connected to the brick underneath.
Oh.
So the house survived better than just about any other house.
Oh, wow.
And it was the first 4 floors. At that point, she determined that the floating foundation she had could only support 4 floors. So she stopped building up and built out. So that's why you'll also see things that go to nowhere or doors that will open up and be 2-story drops because she didn't go that far.
Wow.
But the more important ones too is there's a winding staircase. It just looks odd. It looks compact. She was 4'11". Very pretty, but she had debilitating arthritis. Her hands were like this. The walls were built perfectly so she could hold as she went up the stairs. Now, the stairs going up 2 inches high, people were like, that's weird. No, that's as far as she could raise her foot up.
Oh, wow. That's unbelievable. That's very cool.
Yes.
Well, Brian, where does the haunting come in?
Yeah.
So a lot of people think it has something to do with numerology. For example, 13 was her number, 13 bathrooms, 13 stairs up to the 13th bathroom. All the drains have 13 holes in it. She's buried next to her husband in the 13th plot of the 13th row.
Oh, wow. See, I think 13 is lucky, and one of my daughters does too. She loves 13.
She thought it was her number.
Wow.
But one of the things that doesn't get talked about with her is that her workers, the people that lived in her home, loved her to death.
Aww.
She treated them special than anybody else, no matter who they were, if they were immigrants, what have you. And they said often, when I pass, I want to come back here and live my life after with you.
Hence the haunting. Got it.
The hauntings. Now,
Got it.
going through there with the haunting is a lot of people go, I feel creepy, something's watching me. That's because of the folklore. People are psyched out to believing. If you go in with an open mind and you go in with a factual eye, what you'll see or what you'll feel is, I do believe Sarah is there. She loved that home. And the ghosts they see are in overalls. One's pushing a wheelbarrow in the basement.
Makes sense. The workers.
You know, one is dressed like a butler, that type of thing, but a very peaceful, non-hurtful energy.
So we make it scary, and of course Hollywood made it scary.
Absolutely.
Right.
And even psychics. Chip has been there. A few other psychics have been there.
Chip Coffee. Okay.
Yeah, Chip Coffee. And they all have said it's a peaceful energy.
That's awesome. How many times have you been in there? I know Ghosts of Georgia have not been there yet.
I can't even count, to
You
be
can't
honest
count.
with you. When you drive by it on your way to work every day and then you've got a lunch break, you're like, hey, I'll go check it out. I had a friend who actually was a guide there. That's how I know that they were encouraged to embellish on the folklore.
Yes, tell us about that.
That's like most haunted places too. They have you embellished. As a matter of fact, I know Brian has probably noticed, but you guys in the audience, let us know if you've had this happen. But all these famous haunted places, you start noticing the stories are literally the same. The girl who fell down the elevator shaft, the woman who hung herself in the attic. I mean, it's like, hello, how many times does this happen? You know, so
for sure. And the hauntings themselves. I think also some of the folklore, it's also people misinterpreting things.
Yeah.
So 13th was her number, so they talk about, 13 is an unlucky number. They go the skylight in a roof, it looks into a room. They've turned that into she used to watch her servants because she didn't trust them.
I love it. That's awesome.
So what they've done is just misinterpreted everything.
So do the guides believe the folklore or do they know the truth?
I think it's like with anybody else. I mean, when I go in for investigation, I look at the facts. I don't go, but I try not to even know what activity they have.
Yeah, that's what
right?
we do. Right. We don't like the power of suggestion.
It depends on how much they've gone into the hype of the power of suggestion. One of the things that I do find quite interesting, especially as the guides, if you ask them, if they're being honest, no one has been pushed, no one has been, thrown, and some of the times they'll say, I remember a guide specifically saying, I heard someone was pushed, but I've never seen it.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Right? So
very
you get
neutral
people
answer.
going. It is a very neutral answer.
Right.
And the challenge is when Sarah died and another family bought it, they realized this legend and turned it into it and just added on.
Wow.
Because it was left to her niece who just pretty much took what she wanted and then sold the rest.
Gotcha.
So the house looks beautiful, number one, and also you can tour it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you
it's
can.
still open? You can still tour
You
it?
can tour it.
Oh, wow.
In fact, they had a screening of the film at the actual house.
Oh, wow.
So, and it showed the crowds and
The night tours are the best. I don't know if they do those any longer.
I would guess so.
So, Ghost Brothers, if you're listening, y'all are friends of ours. Let's take a show out there, and Ghost of Georgia will
Yes.
go with you, and we'll film. So, yeah, that's shout out to our brothers, the Ghost Brothers here in Georgia.
Well, and the reason for that is unless you have some clout, a television show, etc., they have not allowed tours there for a while of private teams.
Like our team can't go out there now.
Okay.
For example,
yeah.
we do hit some of the sanatoriums that are within driving distance and those kinds of things. They
Yeah.
still do, but they haven't. And I think the challenge is, my opinion only, is that too many people were giving them getting the information out there that was opposite of their folklore.
That makes sense.
And so, yeah, that's, and if you watch when, I think it was Ghost Adventures folks, not a fan, but when they went there, they just, all they don't do their own individual research. They threw the folklore out there.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
More
entertaining. It continues the entertainment factor of it.
So do you think the Winchester Foundation is capitalizing on the folklore?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You think so?
Absolutely. And I think even furthermore to the movie,
Yeah.
it'd be surprising for people to know the movie actually didn't have one scene filmed there.
Oh.
It was built in Australia, a replica.
Oh, my
Okay.
goodness.
Because again, keep in mind, at this point, it had to be a 7-story home
Gotcha.
until the 1906 earthquake. The character of the doctor that goes to interview her, he's made up. He is there as a impetus for, or a representation of the desire of the other men in the company to want to
Wow.
take her stuff, if you will.
Wow. Now Brian is a fascinating man. He has so many talents.
Absolutely.
So I have to ask, how did you discover the truths of the actual home? Were you just fascinated? What happened?
Well, yes, I was fascinated for one, and then two, later in life, I had started my master's, and you had to do a particular paper on something that was of interest of you.
Gotcha.
For you. And I'm like, well, I've got to pick it. And if you look through the historical records of it, and they keep very good records of the building of the house. The funny thing is, nobody can tell you exactly when Sarah Winchester was born.
Oh.
It's either somewhere between 1845 and not 1845, but I can't remember the years, but it was a 10-year gap.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But with this house, you can tell when they built, you can tell how many people have died there. Think about it, 38 years of building, and you had an earthquake, not exactly, OSHA regulations back then.
2-inch staircase.
Right? There was a lot of
Right.
people who died there working there. Not like thousands, but a
Okay.
lot.
So
She
you
kept
did-
about 20 workers there at a time.
Okay.
But she loved her work. There was a worker who slipped on a piece of a floor one time, so she had that hallway walled off, never to be used again.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, that was just how she treated her staff.
Wow, that's beautiful. So you did some bona fide research on it. Now, when you went, because you said you would often go in there when you lived in California, did you ever have any experiences, activity?
I did actually. And first of all, it's nice. They also have benches out front that you can sit and eat at without even going in. And so
nice.
sometimes I would go over there at lunch. And I've heard voices 3 or 4 times. A woman's voice that was, "Are you getting enough to eat?" was
Aw,
one.
That was nice.
Hi was another one. I've also heard steps when you're up there. Now, the hard part for me is when you're in the house, I don't know. No one's been able to tell me if they manufacture any of the sounds to scare people.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's hard for me to determine if that's what I heard or some type of manufacturer. I only kind of go by with what I hear outside.
What's funny is on our team, we are skeptics by nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go in these places that are a little more famous, like they're about to go to Kentucky to the Waverly Hills,
Mm-hmm.
the skeptic side of me wonders, are there little things set up to make you have experiences, things like that? And I'd rather find those and debunk things than to find the activity, because that just intrigues me how people want to get people fired up and stuff. So
The controversy.
yeah, exactly. So I hope they don't do that in here. That would be very disappointing.
I haven't, before we came on the show, I thought I would look to see if anybody had any reports of finding that kind of equipment. Nobody has.
Okay.
So I don't want to suggest that they do indeed do it. But that's their source of their income.
True.
If you think about the hotels that want to be declared haunted, why? Because more people come.
True. This is true. This is true. Well, most important, and I know you're interested in this, Dawn, was the movie any good? Did you enjoy it?
Depends on what you went to see. If you went to see a factual movie, it's probably 2% accurate. An earthquake did happen in 1906. And she did build on the house.
Okay.
So
that's about it.
Oh,
huh?
she had a niece.
Okay.
That was there as well. That's about it.
Wow.
But to the folklore,
Yeah.
100% accurate.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And to me, it was how can I phrase this? So if you go to see a haunting movie, kind of much like her staircases, it kind of went nowhere.
Oh. Whoops. So on a rotten apple scale, what would you give it?
Yeah, not many.
Not many.
No. For me, a good movie is, something is different at the end than it was at the beginning. Whether
Right.
good, bad, indifferent,
Right.
whatever. Nothing changed.
Well, we have in Augusta, Georgia, we have some personal friends, and I cannot remember the name of the book. It's the Wyricks, Lisa and the Wyricks, and they did The Haunting in Georgia. And it's a very, very true story about our friend Lisa Wyrick and her daughter, and some real, true accounts that have gone on in their life, and they've written books about it. I think the book is called Through the Veil or something like that, The Veil. But anyway, there was a movie made out of it, and it ended up being
amazing.
what didn't end up being The Haunting in Connecticut. Wasn't that it?
There was, but they also did make some Georgia. I bet it had nothing to do with.
Yeah, had nothing to do with that. But that was supposed to be her story, and no, a lot of it was very inaccurate, not to what the family had dictated. So Hollywood definitely Hollywoodized it, and it was kind of sad because it portrayed not really what happened. So they're good people, they're a good family, and it was really scary experiences that happened to them. So the movie kind of disheartened them a little bit.
And there's different levels you can see. For example, this movie is marketed as inspired by a true story. Not based on or not actual, but inspired. It definitely is inspired because that house does exist. That woman existed. If you see based on a true story, typically the things happened. The characters may not be accurate, but it did happen.
It's kind of like my eye cream. It has the appearances of fine lines going away. It's the appearances. It's not that the fine lines are really gone. It just makes the appearances of
that
it.
perception.
Yeah, I love wording. Don't you love wording?
Yeah.
Brian's a writer too, so
Oh,
he's
great.
really good with writing. He's an amazing writer.
well, thank you.
Just Google Brian Daffern, Daffern, and he's a comedian. He's the jack of all trades. He always amazes me. He's a lot of fun to go on investigations with. I'm his fan. I'm super inspired by him all the time.
And what about the birds, Brian?
Oh,
You've
gosh.
got you've got some bird protection.
yeah,
So-
make sure
so
you're talking in here so everybody can hear that story.
Yeah. So one of the things that's interesting, first of all, is with Beth and I. A lot of times, I actually know what's going on in her head, and vice versa. Right?
He reads me, yes.
We can look.
Yes.
And so we're on an investigation at Fort Morgan in Alabama, and I think it's probably 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe. And we're walking into this dark tunnel. Now, this happened to me 3 or 4 times. I'm wearing a head camera that has IR lights.
Yeah.
Birds are getting blinded by this IR light that are hidden in here, and they just all rush my head. Throughout
quite
this
funny.
investigation at 3 or 4 different places, and I'm screaming words probably not.
Like a girl, mind you, screaming like a girl.
I think I like to use the word high pitched.
Yes, okay.
Not like a girl.
Okay, high-pitched.
with quite a few words I would not want my 4 daughters to hear.
Yeah.
Got it.
I wish we had the clip here. It's hilarious. We
It's not.
played it one time.
It's not funny.
Yeah, it's
No,
really funny.
Still too a little real, right? And so these birds are at my head, coming at my head, and she's just laughing, hysterically laughing. No.
Yeah, it was really
And then it
funny.
happened several like 2 other times in there.
Yeah. But he gets in my head, and I know when things like that are going to happen, and it's just funny. Like, I was purposely trailing him going into this tunnel
With the camera running. Yeah.
running, and these birds were kind of scary because they were really more like bats, but they were birds. They were those little tiny little birds.
Okay.
In my mind, they were this big.
Yeah.
When they're coming for your head, they are this
yes,
big.
I can imagine.
Well, listen, the funniest thing was he came from California, and he had never had a tick before.
There's no bugs. I mean, in California, you get an ant or a spider.
Okay,
not
so
ticks or
when
was
he
it
came,
chiggers and
yes.
hell?
So when he came to investigate with us and joined our team, one of his first experiences was in the South, and he went through a cemetery and got ticks. And you talk about screaming like a girl when he found out he came back in the house.
I'm in
And
the
there was
Marine
a
Corps. We
tick
can't
on
keep
him.
saying scream like a girl.
Yeah, he's a Marine on top of it.
Can we just say high pitched?
Yeah. So how did you discover that tick on you again? How did that go? It was upstairs in one of where we were investigating. It was somewhere in Georgia.
It was
It was a plantation.
It was a
wasn't
plantation for sure.
Yeah.
I had been out in a cemetery, as she said, but one of the persons that was with me had a bunch of ticks on their jeans, and they brushed them off, saying, "You got to watch these." And then as we walked,
that one was his name's Chris. He's
Yes.
country. He's used to it.
Yeah, and as we walked back to the house, Chris described to me exactly what ticks do. And he's like, yeah, sometimes they can get as big as, like an apple on you, and and that kind of thing. And he really put me in a spot where I'm scared, right, of these things. And so we're up in the middle of an investigation. It's pitch black. We're talking.
Doing an EVP session.
Yeah, we hear a sound. I'm like, oh, I look over, and as I look over from an IR light, I see something on my leg. And I look down, and it's a tick crawling. And I brush it off and slam it really hard. And they're all laughing at me because Beth calls up, and she's like,
On the radio, yeah.
we thought we heard a girl scream up there. Was that you?
It was a tick and a loud bang, which we
Yeah.
thought was activity. It was hilarious. Well, we're going to go to commercial break.
Yes.
And when we come back, we're going to talk more about the Winchester Mansion in California.
Yes.
And we have a guest named Todd Dunn, who's has been there as well. And we're going to get his version of this, of the
Perspectives
Winchester.
on- yeah.
If you guys have questions, please send them and share this. This is a lot of fun. We're having a good time today.
Yes,
Thank you. We'll be right back on Psychic Soup. All right, we're back, and we are now with Todd Dunn. We had Miss Dawn step out because she's got another engagement, and this show goes by super fast, so we wanted to make sure we got Todd in here too. And Todd, you were just sharing with me about the Freemason story. Tell me what you were just saying about that.
Now, what I was saying that she could actually, even though she couldn't become a Freemason, she could actually become a Northern Star, which is, an Eastern Star, which is another form of Freemasonry for women. My sister's one, and I'm actually a Freemason. So.
Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. And I'm going to adjust your microphone. I apologize, but I can tell that it needs to go just a little higher for you. I'm sorry. That's not very professional, you guys. Sorry
I'm so
about
tall.
that. I know. So just make sure you're talking right in there. So you're a Freemason.
Yes.
So you have, and tell me one more time what the Eastern Star is. Is that for women? What is that?
Eastern Star is actually for women. The little catch of it is that they have to have one man to actually be the star. And then Eastern Stars can actually be surrounded by that one guy. So it's another form of masonry for women who actually couldn't become a Freemason.
So they don't have to go to France to do that, like
No.
she did. No. Now, did that not exist in the 1800s? Is that new in the Mason? Or
It's been around for a while. Now, I'm not sure how long it's been, I guess, in the United States, but I know it's been around for a while. My sister became one back about 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I became a Mason back in college. And after my father passed away, I found out that he was a Mason also.
You found that out?
Well,
How unique. And you did not know that?
I did not know.
That's fascinating.
When I became a Mason, he actually gave me a ring that my grandfather had, who was a Mason. But he never told me he was actually a brick mason. So he never mentioned being a Freemason until when he passed away. He had a ring that was one of my possessions, and I found out that was a ring for a 32nd degree Mason. And
Wow.
that was his.
So where did your family originate from? I'm fascinated by this, if you guys haven't know. So I'm fascinated. I've traveled through Kentucky, and I saw a lot of Freemason type stuff there, a lot of historical buildings. But I haven't seen a ton in Atlanta, a lot of evidence. But I know Atlanta takes a lot of their history away, so destroys buildings and stuff. But where does your family originate from, your dad and grandfather and such?
Actually, my dad and grandfather originated from Lawrenceville, and I think it's Weiner.
Okay. I live
Georgia.
in Lawrenceville. So we have Masons in Lawrenceville?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be dang. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay. So I was expecting something like we're from, I don't know, some fascinating country or something. No. Okay. Well, all right. I didn't. That's crazy. Yeah. So the Masons have been in Lawrenceville forever then?
Yes. And usually it's a building that you don't really even think about. You might go by.
Wait. I know where it is. It's off of East Croghan Street?
It could be.
Okay.
Yes.
I've seen it.
Yes. It wouldn't have a lot of I guess
It's just a brick building.
that's a brick building.
Yeah,
You might see
very
a little,
old.
might see a Mason sign on it, but that's about it.
Yep, that's it. I've seen it. Oh,
Yeah.
It's a secretive
It
type
is.
of organization, so you shouldn't ask for the address.
I shouldn't ask. Okay, so that's why you're saying it could be. I got it. Okay. Well, the building that I'm speaking of, which I don't know the address of, is I think that it's the historical building. I'm not sure if it's still an active building, but I'm not going to ask you that question. So, but I do want to know, can you just tell me real quick? I know we're talking about the Winchester, but what is the deal with, I don't want to get into too much theology, but why is the Mason religion a secretive religion? That's always fascinated me.
It started off with from the Bible times. It was a way for, I guess, best way to put it, Masons to actually come together and start off with King Solomon. And,
Okay.
Yes, and it started off from him, and it went further and further because people who actually wasn't able to become a Mason per se, as a brick Mason, could actually endeavor to actually become a Mason, and it is formed through the world. It's actually the largest fraternity in the world.
Wow, that's incredible.
Well, and if you look at the Mason tools, they're very much symbolic in the.
I
yes.
never noticed.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a whole nother show. I gotta see this. That's a whole nother show. So remind me, I know you said at the beginning of the show, but Sarah's husband was a Mason?
He was.
Okay.
He was in the Freemasons, and so was her father.
Okay.
And actually, that's through. I don't know exactly how they met, but it was one of those introductions through there.
Okay.
And the eastern side of it actually started, I believe it was 1896.
Oh, okay.
And so that was
Why she had to go to France.
Well, yes. I mean,
Okay.
at that it wasn't in the U.S. at that time. That was only, as he mentioned, across.
You've probably done a
pond.
paper on this, haven't you?
Not on the Freemason side. I actually have a couple of friends who may or may not be in the Freemasons.
Gotcha. May or may not be. I like that. Okay.
But yeah, it was something that she was raised. It was an environment she was raised in, and she wanted,
Okay.
and she didn't like to be told you're a woman, you can't.
Gotcha. All right. So I have a very obvious and probably stupid question. So the men she hired were obviously workers, and were they Masons?
They were Masons to a degree that they were actually work with the hands.
Gotcha.
It's two different types of Masons: the ones who work with the hands, and actually ones who are Freemasons. And then you have some who actually are able to become both.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
There wasn't a whole lot of written up about the people she hired.
Okay. Well,
Right.
do they touch on this in the movie at all? Did they talk about the Freemasons in the movie? That's
No.
not even part of it?
No.
Wow.
Because
that's kind of
not part
disappointing.
It's not the sexy part of the folklore.
That it's not the selling point of the folklore. I got
Yeah.
it. Well, I think it's kind of sexy.
I mean, Winchester is called the house that ghosts built. So, not the house that Masons built.
Got it. The house that ghosts built. Ooh, I like that. That does sound sexy. Okay. Well, this is fascinating, and now I want to go to California. Does anybody want to support me and send me to California? Because I'd like to go tour through it. Okay, so you've gone through the home. Have you been there, Todd?
I have not been able to go to. Actually, I was planning this summer.
This summer. Okay, but you saw the movie.
Yeah,
So how much of it did you really believe?
not that much.
Okay.
Not that much.
All right.
I had already done research on it a while back, and it was, it was just a movie to get people to come watch a movie. They, of course, they threw in a lot of things that wasn't real and wasn't realistic. Like you said, that the part about the earthquake of 1906, that really did happen right there. But the rest of the stuff,
So you guys are smart men. Y'all do your research before you go in. You don't go in blindly, so that's good. Now, on ghost investigations, as a team, we do go in blindly. We try to go in blindly, but it's nice that you guys knew this before you saw the movie. So I'll ask you, how many haunted movies do you see? You like to see haunted movies, right?
yes.
Okay, so how many of you found them to be true to story?
Not that many.
Not many.
Not
So you
that
just
many.
go for the entertainment.
Yeah, and see how they're going to distort,
Yeah. Now, do you I know you're a ghost hunting enthusiast, so do you like to go to the locations after you see the movie or before to try to figure all that out? Is that part of the fun for you?
I like to go before.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of places I've been to now, I'm like, oh, they have a movie about this. Interesting.
Right.
So
Have you been out to Kentucky? Have you been to the Waverly Hills yet?
I have not.
You need to go.
I have.
It is active.
I've actually seen a lot of stuff on television about it, and I've read about it a lot, and I would love to go there.
You need to go.
yeah.
And we've been out there twice now.
When we go this next time, I want to sleep in the body chute. This time, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
oh,
that'd
that's so
be great.
scary. That is scary. Well, what? Okay, wait a minute. Now, I remember. Is that the dark tunnel? What is the body chute?
The body chute is at the hospital part of the wing where when the bodies died, they would just drop them down into a bin because they, tuberculosis and yellow fever and all those kinds of things. They would just drop the dead bodies down there.
Wow. Our team has gotten some VVPs in there, haven't they? Yeah. So if you look for little microphones and little things that make sounds to see if it's rigged or not yet.
No, but I will say at St. Albans, when we were there, it's a sanatorium. I actually did look for those and couldn't find them.
Couldn't find them. Well, they're either really good at hiding them or they really is active. So you need to add that to your list. And St. Albans, we're going there too. So when, I have a really bad habit of laughing, really bad, he can testify. And so when I go see haunted movies, like, what was that one that had the 3 in there, Paranormal Activity? Oh my gosh. My daughters took me and I laughed so hard I nearly wet my pants. I just couldn't help it. It was so funny to me. And I guess it's because we do this and I laughed hysterically. So you can't take me to movies like this. Not if you're going to know me, because I will laugh really bad. It has to be extremely engaging for me to be able to get through it without laughing.
That's how my 13-year-old daughter Brienne is.
Really?
She just finds them so funny. She actually loves to go see them to see what new things they can try to exaggerate or
Exactly.
change.
Haunted houses, too. I laugh hysterically the whole time. I have to wear something because I usually end up wetting my pants because I'm laughing so hard. Sorry, TMI.
Yeah, I was
but hey, it's radio. But yeah, it's funny to me. So I have a feeling when I go see the Winchester Mansion, it'll be funny to me as well. Although I really like the artistry of the film. The artistry looks more intriguing at this film to me. So maybe I won't laugh so much during this one. It looks a little more artistic than usual.
Well, yes, and the movie, it doesn't keep throwing hauntings in your face. It does have a story.
Okay.
Inaccurate, but a story.
Inaccurate,
right?
but a story.
It's just little things they add in there.
Yeah.
To trap a ghost, you just need to put 13 nails in a piece of wood.
Right.
They don't care how many nails you put in there.
Yeah.
Building a maze to confuse ghosts.
Yeah.
You've actually never been on a paranormal investigation then, if you believe that.
That's true. That's true.
She rings the bell at midnight to signify to the ghosts it's okay to come. And then ring it again at 2 a.m. for them to go.
Oh, my goodness. I would laugh hysterically.
How many ghosts have a watch?
Right.
I mean, right?
Right.
Or a clock, or even care.
Right. Well, I believe we have a question on Facebook. Is that right, Wahid?
Yes, and it's kind of a bit about us talking about ghosts. What kind of spirits are in the Winchester Mansion?
So, my opinion only.
Yeah, because he's been there.
There have been some psychics who've confirmed it, but Sarah Winchester herself and some members of the staff that worked for her. Very peaceful. For example, in the basement, you'll see a man in overalls pushing a wheelbarrow. You'll see people dressed of the time, kind of a butler, other men in overalls. So that's the kind of energy. Nothing negative.
Okay. Is it through your peripheral vision, or do you see them like direct?
Now, I've not seen them. Those are just reports that people get. Now, for the most part, if you do want to see a spirit, peripheral vision is probably the best. Or you remember those old puzzles they had where you had to squint your eyes and kind of just
blur your eyes out.
Blur your eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
That actually also works if you have centered yourself and your mind is open.
And everybody's experience of how they visually see a spirit is a little bit different. Some people will see shadows. Some people will see a full-fledged apparition. It really is kind of on an individual basis. But one thing I do want to bring up is I suspect that there's a lot of residual energy and hauntings in the Winchester, right, Brian?
I would assume so. I've not explored that side of it.
Well, let's explain real quick for the audience the difference between residual haunting and an active haunting. And I'll let you do that because I'm suspecting it's more residual, which if you'll explain that might make more sense to the audience.
The easiest way to think about it is residual is, I was going to say a cassette tape, but that really dates me, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does date you.
A recording.
If you said 8-track, then I'd really...
Yeah, a recording that just plays over and over and over again, and it reaches the end, starts over. Reaches the end,
loops.
starts over. The intelligent haunting is you have some contextual information. For example, when I was sitting on the bench outside eating, and someone said if I was full. Well, If they always say that, that would then tell me there had to be benches back there to the 1800s.
Yes,
there
exactly.
weren't. You could tell that they were new, and so it's a response. Now, it may not be the answer you want,
Right.
but it is a response to something.
It's when they communicate with you. That is
Yeah.
the active haunting. But residual haunting is actually the most common. And it scares people because they don't understand it. Like they'll hear footsteps. Every night I hear footsteps at 9 o'clock, you know. And that is, it's like an impression in time. It's like a timestamp, like he said, like a tape recorder. And all that really is almost like an energy imprint in the ether. So people, especially if they're more aware and more awake and they're just more cognizant to things around them, they're going to notice things like that. But the real factor of is that we have residual energy around us all the time. Yeah. It's just that we have to be quiet enough sometimes to hear it. But it really happens all the time. So it shouldn't scare you. It doesn't mean it's communicating with you. You know, it's just a timestamp. Noises, voices, talking, things like that. But it doesn't mean it's actually communicating with you. So
and like at the Winchester House, the person pushing the wheelbarrow.
Right.
I look at that and say that must be residual.
It's
I mean,
gotta
if
be residual.
I was dead, I wouldn't want to push a wheelbarrow for fun.
No.
That's
Yeah.
just, you just wouldn't.
It just has to be a residual impression. It's some, and because that happened for 38 years, I could see why that would be a timestamp. So that makes sense. I worked with a family yesterday and did a little house reading. They hired me to come out and do a house reading and do a house clearing. And they were really afraid in their home. And I found that the only reason they were afraid was lack of knowledge. Most of their activity is residual activity. There is some active intelligent stuff, but most of their intelligent communication is actually a friend of theirs. And the other one is an old man that belonged to the home. And he just didn't want to leave. It was his home. He died in that home. And we actually worked out a deal that they could cohabitate as long as he left them in peace and they left him in peace. They could live in harmony together. So they were very happy with it by the time they left. But educating, especially the female of the home, and letting her know that just because we don't understand it doesn't make it scary. You know, it's really just like you and I sitting here. It's so I encouraged her to educate herself on those things, and I could tell by the time I left she felt 100% better. So, but I did do the clearing and asked for any negative and unwanted energy that would be harmful or was not for their highest good to leave. I did do that, and I felt pretty confident when I left that was gone.
Yeah, that was an interesting home.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I didn't get to go on the first investigation with you guys, but y'all went twice, didn't you, to that home?
Well, we went once. We went
yeah.
once. It was the one where the top floor caught fire.
Yeah, it did.
And instead of rebuilding the top floor, they just roofed it.
Yeah, exactly. And I looked up in the attic and I saw he showed me after I told him, I said, there was a top floor here. I didn't realize that it had burned. And I said, it either burned down or a tornado took it or something. And then I could see that an oil lamp had actually started the fire when I really got to looking at it. And he pulled out his data and he said, yeah, that's exactly what happened in history. So that was pretty cool.
They still have the burnt embers in some places.
Yeah,
up
if you
there
look
too.
up in the attic, it's still burned. So
it's very interesting.
They didn't disclose that apparently in their sale of the home. So.
They didn't.
No.
Well, researching that home, I do a lot of the research for our team. The researching that home, depending on how major the renovation is, that actually will end up in the records as the built date.
That explains why I knew that house was not built in 1920s. I knew it. Or 1960s. This actually, no, this was built in 1800s, no question.
Well, you can tell by looking at it.
Yeah.
However, if you're doing a major repair, it will change the date.
That's crazy.
And we have found that in several properties. And that's just because the deeds are allowed to supersede.
Wow, that's incredible. Very incredible. So we have any more questions out there, Wahid, yet? Okay. Well, you guys have got to go see the movie. I do know that because it looks interesting. But
the acting is wonderful.
Yeah.
I want to say that.
I was going to say, who's that lead actress? I don't remember her name, but I love her. Do you
Helen Mirren.
What is it? Say it again.
Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren. Okay, I really like her. What movie was she in that I would recognize? Because I know.
Oh, she's been in a lot.
She was actually, I think she won an Oscar for playing Queen Elizabeth.
Oh,
the Queen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys, it's got to be a good movie. So if you can just take the folklore part and just appreciate it for entertainment, then that's probably going to add to your value of the movie experience. But I'm so glad that you were able to tell us that, you've done research on it and you've done research on it, and it really is just folklore. So, it's a little crazy. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, if you guys got questions, we'll try to address those, and we'll talk a little bit more about Winchester and haunted locations. And I'm here with Brian and Todd. This is Psychic Soup. We'll be right back. And we are coming back. We are here on Psychic Soup, and I'm here with a guest, Todd Dunn, our ghost hunting enthusiast. So I have a question for you, Todd. Have you ever thought about joining a ghost hunting team and doing it like for real, or do you just do it on your own?
Yes, I have. I've thought about that a lot.
You have? Okay. Yeah. Well, do your research. We're here in Georgia. We have a lot of applications, people trying to join our team, but I invite you to turn in an application and as we go through them. And our team lead, our president, Ed Laughlin, goes through those on a daily basis, actually. So, yeah, we keep the team pretty small for reasons that is too long to describe here on the show. But we love having new people all the time. Right. So that's fun. But yeah, do your research. There's about 3 or 4 I think that I know of actively in Georgia, and they're all pretty good. Okay. You know, I'm not gonna slam anybody. So Wahid, I just got a signal. We have another question. What's that?
Yes, we do. This is from Miss Marnie. She asked if one suspects there is paranormal activity in their home, is there a polite way or way to ask them to either show themselves or confirm they are there?
We do that all the time, Marnie. We actually, but we do it because we go in there because we've been requested by the homeowners to try to find evidence that is that the activity is real. I don't personally suggest you communicating to spirits on your own without really knowing what you're doing. But if your curiosity, you just can't stand it and you really just want to know, then what I would do is get in a prayerful, peaceful state of mind and be extremely respectable, respect the other side. Because 99.999% of the time, the other side is not there to scare us or anything. They're really just trying to get our attention. So you could ask to show themselves and just tell you who they are. But if you're uncomfortable and it scares you, you have more power to tell them to go away and that they're not welcome in your home. So we kind of do both, but when we do an EVP session to communicate with spirits, we're very particular about making sure it only pertains to the home or the land or what the client has asked us to come out there and find. We don't just open it up to any spirits, because if you're not careful, you might be thinking you're talking to this spirit that you suspect in your home, but when you start communicating, you're literally opening the door to communicate with any spirit. So it's something we definitely caution against, because and then a lot of people don't realize they need to close that door of communication properly and say, okay, I'm done. I do not want to communicate with that other side. Thank you for blessing me, and just, to send that off in a really respectful way. If they leave that door open, it's been told, and it just depends on your belief, that you can leave that communication open for any time, and more people to come through and try to talk to you. I can tell you and testify that once your light bulb is on, that you can hear and talk to spirits, you're going to get bombarded with spirits trying to talk to you. So you might want to be careful about open Pandora's box. Brian, what do you have to say about that?
Just be really clear on your intent. And make sure that, as you said, be respectful. You'll see in some shows where they'll scream at them and they'll call them names. That's not the way to talk to anybody, dead or alive.
Right.
Right.
Right. No provoking.
Right. But the intent is really clear. You've got to be clear in your intent.
And the provoking, a lot of people think it's a bunch of woo-woo, like, I don't want to provoke them because they'll do something evil against me. No, it's not even that. It's, what if you were mean and yelled at your neighbor? Your neighbor might end up throwing a hammer at you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, the same thing can happen in spirit. So it's not that it's a woo-woo haunted thing. It's a respect thing.
Right.
So you just need to respect them just like you would respect any neighbor or anybody that's in your home. I hope that answers your question, Marnie. So just be careful and, don't do anything unless you really know what you're doing, and be careful. Yeah, be careful is what our advice is on that. Did you say we had another question, Wahid? No. Okay. Well, this has been a fascinating show. Does anybody have anything they want to add about movies, hauntings? Todd, you only got in the hot seat for a minute. Anything?
I will say that I had a situation when I was in college where my roommates and I decided we were going to try to save money with our house we were living in, and asked the landlord, could we renovate the house and he'd take money off of the rent. And
logical request.
Yeah.
So we actually went through, took up the carpet, repainted the walls, did all this remodeling to a house. The house is probably built in the late late 30s, maybe early 40s. And once that happened, things start happening around the house. And I know a lot of times they say once you might do some remodeling to a house that someone previously owned, they might not be so happy about. But I do recall during that period of time, I actually went to a estate sale. Somebody passed away, and I bought a antique brass bed.
Oh, okay.
So now you got double whammy.
Yeah,
you done work and you bought an old object.
Yes, and an old object.
So-
That's a whole nother show because we could talk about that. Keep going, keep going.
So after that point right there, I noticed that when I was sleeping in my room, that I would wake up in the middle of the night and I could feel a presence of something right next to my face.
Wow.
And and my room was pitch black. I could just feel something staring at me. And I was talking to one of the girls I work with, and she said that their house had to be exorcised. She lived in East Tennessee, and she told me that the person who blessed her house said, if anything ever happens, say in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave.
Right.
So after a while, I had to sleep with the door open because I couldn't feel comfortable if the door was shut.
Right.
And one night it happened again, and I just woke up and I looked around. And I couldn't see anything. I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave. I didn't yell anything. I just
Right,
said,
perfect.
And as soon as I said that, I don't know what happened, but I could feel like the presence. I could feel the presence just dissipate.
You can feel it, can't you? I felt that too. That's
it disappeared,
incredible.
and then I was able to go back to sleep. But I did know that if after that point right there, when it did happen, I would say it, and it wouldn't happen.
It's amazing too how you can actually feel the energy vacate a room. We've experienced that so many times, so I totally get what you're saying. So you guys listen to Todd's advice, and we've got to wrap up now. So if y'all enjoyed the show, share it with your friends. And we have this show every Monday at 12:30. Right now, it may move to 1 later for FM radio, but 12:30 for now. Psychic Soup, and we have different topics every week. Have different psychics, healers, and I have just had so much fun having you guys on the show. And Ghost of Georgia, of course. And now I need to go take my husband on a date and go see the movie, the Winchester Mansion. But this has been a great show. It's been so much fun. You guys have a great week. Set your intention for something positive and make it happen, okay? We love you guys, and we will see you soon next week on Monday at 12:30. Bye. Thank you, guys.